faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad.
It's peak week, motherfuckers, which feels absolutely surreal to say that I am now only 1 week out, as of today, from the first show of the season. And the reason it doesn't feel like it's peak week is because this prep has been so damn enjoyable. I do not know where the last 18 weeks has gone. And in previous preps, I was always crawling over the finish line. I cannot wait until peak week. So I think that's why it doesn't even feel like I'm entering my first peak week right now. But super exciting. The visuals you've seen this morning were following 2 back-to-back high days. Prior to that, we set out on our hardest and final dig before this first peak week. We pulled off 2.5 kilos in the space of 5 days. We were pushing hard. We had cardio at 1 hour, 15 minutes per day, 14,000 steps per day, posing still at 8 rounds per day, and food relatively low, about 1,900 on a rest day and about 2,350 on a training day. But that's seen some serious steps forwards in condition, but we needed to pull back just due to the rate of loss and seeing a lot of accumulated fatigue. So really important that we pulled back for 2 days. We ran 2 back-to-back high days with some additional fats in there than what we had ran on our previous high days, just to make sure the carbs stick. And we definitely seen that because we were up just under 2 kilos across the 2 days. And that was a much fuller and fresher look this morning. I always feel like my physique looks best a day or 2 following the high days, once I've come back down to baseline a little bit. So excited to see how we look over the next few days. We have a short window of opportunity here to work back down to baseline and possibly sneak out a little bit more condition before we truly start peaking for this first show. And I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, what even is peak week? What's the process of peak week? I'm going to be bringing out consistent content across this week to document the whole process on the lead up to the first show. Peak week isn't magic. It's all about taking your physique from 95% to 100%. But if managed incorrectly, you can take your physique from 95% down to like 80%. So peak week is essentially an accumulation of decisions across the week in order to peak your physique for a very specific time of stepping on stage. The perfect peak will be a balance of condition, hardness, with that fullness as well. So it's just trying to strike that balance and bring the best look possible for that moment in time where we step on stage. So how do we go about doing that? First things first, you are in no right to be peaking your physique if you are not in condition. That is a prerequisite for a peak week. You can't peak a physique that isn't in condition. And the closer you are to legit fat-free condition, number 1, the less you need to do, but number 2, the harder you can push a peak. You have more leeway, less room for error. So this first show of the season, we are not in legit fat-free condition. That was never the goal. We have more important shows following this initial qualifier that we need to peak for. So it's really important that I'm not fat-free for this initial qualifier and then have 7 to 8 weeks of prep left of pro qualifiers where I'm trying to retain that stage condition because the physique will likely fade. So we will have a short opportunity after this first show to get fat-free conditions. We're very, very close. And therefore, this initial peak week here isn't going to be very extensive. It's just going to be gaining some data for my body and actually having an opportunity to pull our foot off the gas. So what is the general approach to a successful peak week? The first step is getting rid of any fatigue and inflammation that has been accumulated during fat loss on the lead up to peak week. You do not want to be driving your physique into the ground, trying to get as much fat loss off before you start peaking. Because a physique that is riddled with fatigue and inflammation will not be responsive and receptive to the changes you make. So it's really important that your initial steps are directly contributing towards removing fatigue and removing inflammation. Because when the body is fresh, it will be responsive and you will get that desired response to additional food coming in. So initially, it is going to be a reduction in expenditure. So cardio is done. There is no more cardio before this first show. We're keeping steps high because we want to try and work back down to a baseline following the high days that we've just ran. So we're still at 14,000 steps, but that will start to titrate down as we navigate throughout the week. As food starts to come up towards the back end of the week, steps will just come down to purely digestion steps. Okay, so that is the initial goal. Once the body is fresh and free from fatigue, you can then start loading the physique. I always believe a linear load is a bulletproof way and very predictable way of bringing fullness without causing any GI distress or kind of overspilling. You can just bring the food up slowly until you find that desired look, and then we'll have a control day the day before the show to kind of hold the look going into the show day. So it's really important in a peak week to keep things as regimented and predictable as possible. We want control of every single variable so we can have confidence when we change an input, we're going to get the desired response. So sodium will be tracked very closely the entire week. It has been most of the prep anyway, but just being super aware of any sodium creeping in through condiments, we will keep that completely out. Seasonings, I've completely converted now to no sodium, no calorie seasoning, so we've got that control metric there. Water will also be tracked very closely for the entire week because that can be used during the peaking process. We will titrate up water alongside carbohydrates so we can store that as glycogen. So all of these little variables are tracked very closely. Okay, training, we will talk through that as we go throughout the week. Today is the final full intensity session before we start backing off on training intensity next week. So we've got pull today to wrap up the first stint of prep. So we've got pull today, which I will take you through, whether I mic it up or just film a few sets. I'll take you through that final full intensity session, which I'm going to get stuck into. I've got a load of stored energy from the high day, so it's really important that I work some of that off, and then we'll see what the visuals are looking like post-workout. I need to get some routine practice in. The routine is pretty much locked down, which is super exciting. I just want to put the few finishing touches on there and make a few changes. And what did make it feel a little more like peak week this morning was I went to the shop to get some peak week essentials in the form of skin preparation. Another really important part of peak week is ensuring your skin is ready to accept a tan. And what do I mean by accept a tan? You want the skin quality as high as possible. As I've mentioned, this is a super important part of the final look. So I've got myself some exfoliating mitts to ensure that there is no dead skin lying on the surface. We're making sure that we're doing this daily. It's healthy, it's hydrated, so that the tan takes super well to my skin. Really, really important. So we've got some exfoliation mitts, which would be super fun. We've then also got a shower gel that I'll be using for this week, which essentially just has no sulfates, no colorants, no deodorants in there, because that can sit on the skin as well, and they can create green marks in areas when you do get your tan. So an alcohol-free shower gel there has been secured. We've also got some clear nail polish. If any of you have had a spray tan before and forgot to put this on your nails, you'll know how bad of an idea that is. You will have brown nails for the next 5 to 6 months, which is not what you want. So secured some of that. And then also a Philips one blade head as well, ready for the shaving process, which is never a fun time. So that made it feel a little more real. And I'm sure it will all start to kick in as we navigate throughout the week. Obviously, this is not a pre-planned approach. I will be checking in with Dan every single day and making adjustments as we navigate throughout the week, and I want to document the entire thing. So it's time to go and train pull and kick this peak week off strong. So 50 minutes later and we have arrived at the gym ready to train pull. Pre-workout is in the system. And I get a few people ask me, why do you choose to commute so far to get to the gym? And the reason is I value environment so high when it comes to selecting a gym. The people you surround yourself with, the environment that you train in has such a huge impact on the success of your sessions and your enjoyment of the sessions. How does that gym make you feel when you walk in there? And I can tell you with Falcon, I walk in and regardless of my mood, I want to train hard. I'm excited to train, even in the depths of prep. They're always blasting music. People are training hard. It's an environment where you want to be, and it forces so much progress as a result of that. There's Olympia medals all up on the wall from Dean, the owner, who's gone to the Olympia. You're just surrounding yourself with so much external motivation. I truly believe that adds up. If you're training 5 times a week, that's over 250 sessions across the space of the year. And if you're training in an environment that just brings you up a few percent, that's going to add up. It's so important. I think equipment is also super important, but I think as long as you have a base standard of kit, I would still always choose a gym that has a better environment. If it has perfect kit as well, you're onto a winner. And I am looking to relocate at the end of the year, whether that's closer to Falcon here or another gym in the country, which sounds absolutely crazy to some people, right? That I'd relocate and move my life just to be closer to a better gym. But when I'm looking to get to the top level of the sport, I truly feel like these decisions make a huge difference. Audit your environment. This doesn't just go for the gym that you choose to train at. This goes for the people you choose to surround yourself with. This goes for the content you choose to consume. The environment that you choose to operate in will have one of the biggest influences on whether you reach your goals or not. And I truly believe that. So you need to make constant decisions to level up your environment, and you'll be rewarded for it. So without further ado, we're going to get in there. We're going to get warmed up and we're going to nail this final full intensity session before the first show of the season. When I talk about atmosphere, this is what I mean. You don't need headphones in here to train hard, which is so nice. You don't need to select a song. I don't even know if you can hear me right now with the mic on. And I'm probably in for some copyright, but this is why I love to train here. And you'll see what I mean by all of the medals up on the wall. How can you not be motivated seeing Olympia medals while you train? Hopefully I'll have some of my own one day. We will have some of my own one day. Starting off with the seated prime row. One of the things that has leveled up my back training the most is ensuring that I am initiating the concentric with the target tissue. So many people will pull intentionally with their hands. But what I want to see when it comes to any row, any lat pull down, any pulling movement in general, is that the back moves before the hands or the arms even start to flex. I will ensure I'm initiating the concentric by retracting the scap. The arms come back as a result of that. And this is where lifting straps come in so key here. I will strap up in as much wrist extension as possible so my grip is really passive, so that when I then row, it's all coming from the back first. Just watch the difference in internal stimulus when you move from the target tissue first. This goes for all of your movements, but back stuff in particular, you know? Okay, final warm up here, confidence builder. We're ready. We're ready. This is gonna suck the life out of me, it really is. 3, 2, 1. Mine.
There we go. Try. 2. 3. Good. 4. 5. 6. Come on. 7. And again, let's go. 8. And again, come on. 9, drive it. Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Shh. Oi. 3, 2, 1. Come on. Oh. Very challenging not to get bullied by the weights at this body weight. Fuck. 2 solid sets, we'll take that. 5 plates on the DY low row. Time to summon my inner Dorian Yates. 1 fucking week, come on. Okay. Oh yes, lovely. Reps match even though I'm 2 kilos down. Okay. Okay.
Right, I want to hear everybody singing this from the front to the back to the balconies. Let's do this again.
Oh! Yeah. Nice. All right then, got a match. Pull from the fucking lat. Okay. Oh yeah. All right, people, cable row up next. Letting the scap and the upper back musculature work around the spine as I keep that fixed in place. Once again, initiating the concentric by retracting at the scap. Okay. Oh! Banger after banger in here. I don't listen to D&B as much as I used to, but my God, when you get a good SoundCloud mix on. Oh. Oh yeah. Hey, that was heavy. Heavy, eh? That's 4 rounds of posing done. I'm super happy with the visuals today. The DJI, once again in the posing room, just washes me out. So I may put some of the phone clips up on screen, but super happy with the visuals. I feel like the fullness is there, but we're starting to tighten back up now that we're halfway through a day back at baseline. A phenomenal session today. Just vibes in here, man. I had a lot of energy running off the back of the 2 high days, so really enjoyable session. Performance retained without taking any silly reps. You may have noticed during some of those sets, I wasn't controlling the eccentric as much as I normally would, and this is something that I will continue to do as I progress throughout peak week, because we know the eccentric is where most muscle damage occurs. We don't want to be causing too much muscle damage within peak week. It's going to cause some local inflammation, so it's going to be more about shuttling food to the right areas. So we almost switch that tempo slightly, especially as we get towards those pump sessions in the latter end of peak week. We will be more focusing on contractions, squeezes, and really not rinsing anything that gets too heavy in the length and range and things like that. So just kind of took a step in that direction today by just speeding up the eccentric ever so slightly while still remaining super safe. So really happy with the visuals today, what I was seeing in the session, how I felt, and then also the posing rounds up here following. Now time to practice the routine, which I'm not going to be showing you until show day. I'm keeping this a surprise. I've been working with Derek on this routine. It's super special, and I'm very excited to display it. I just got to keep practicing it, putting on the final few finishing touches just to make it look as clean and as professional as possible. So I'm going to run through 3 or 4 rounds of that routine now, and then go get the post-workout meal in. So people, it is time for the post-workout meal. We have 200 grams of raw weight chicken, 80 grams of raw weight basmati rice, some beetroot kimchi, which is sensational, some spring onions, and some mixed salad. Now, vegetables will be kept consistent until we start to titrate up the carbohydrates towards the back end of the week and start loading up, because we don't want to cause any low-level inflammation within the gut. We want to make sure that we have perfect digestive efficiency and minimize that transit time. So vegetables will come down as carbohydrates come up, but for now we're still at baseline, so we're going to keep everything consistent. So I'm going to enjoy this, and then the rest of the day is going to be chilling out, really getting the final few meals in, finishing off steps, and tomorrow will be a rest day. I think we're going to go to the cinema to watch a new film, and then also an exciting little photo shoot that I'm going to do. So I will bring you guys along tomorrow and catch up with them. So people, it is the day following, now 6 days out from the first show of the season. We had a really nice drop on the scales of 1 kilo overnight, so we're now only 1 kilo off being back at our prep low. And I've had my proposed peak week plan through from Dan, always subject to change. We're going to be checking in daily, but we are setting out on a 3-day dig to try and get back down to the prep low and below that. We have a very short window here where we're able to dig for a little bit more condition via lower impact forms of expenditure, steps right up at 15k. We've made a food drop as well, a slight bump in lipolytics for a few days, so we're very confident that's going to bring about new levels of condition before we then start to load up into the first show of the season. And I was really happy with the visuals this morning following a day back at baseline, so I'll put them up on the screen now. So that was some really important data gained for me and Dan going into this peak week. So it is a rest day today. We need to keep busy. Food is low, so hunger's going to be super high. So we are heading to the cinema to watch one battle after another. I think it's cool. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio in there. We haven't seen a film in so long, so it's meant to be film of the year. So we'll give you a bit of a review. I look forward to going in, grabbing myself a Pepsi Max. I'm worried I'm not going to get through the whole film without needing the toilet though, that's the only problem. So we're going to go and watch the film, and then when I get back home after, I will run you through the proposed peak week plan before we head up to Cheddar Gorge for a photo shoot to round up 6 days out. So take you along, and we'll see you after the film. So, review of the film, one battle after another. That was a really enjoyable film. It was a long film, but it was so fast paced, like you were so engaged for the entire film. And I think it was a good blend of just humour, action, and just, yeah, I just thought it was a really, really good film. So definitely worth going to watch, and was nice to actually have 2 hours 40 to focus on a film, not work, not think about prep, as I haven't really done that for the past few weeks. It's just been so flat out, and it's nice to come back outside with some good weather. So I'm hoping we get a good sunset tonight for the photo shoot. We will see. So I'm going to tuck into the meal right here. I have got a chicken salad with roasted peppers, 15 grams of almond butter, beetroot kimchi. So I'm going to get this down. It's just about stayed cold in the car with an ice pack. And then pineapple to go down with it. First carbs of the day.
I got yogurt.
And she's got fire yogurt with whey protein.
Golden hour.
It's cold. We've come up Cheddar Gorge, which we are super fortunate to live pretty close to capture a sunset and get some classic shots on a rock. So that's a slightly better camera than what you're viewing this video on. That is a wild setup.
And that is the sunset photo shoot.
Obviously some shots.
Do you want a few quick photos?
Look at that.
Why not?
And the sunset.
While we're here.
You cold?
Freezing my bollocks off. Okay, people, so that brings us to the end of day number 2 in peak week. And climbing up that gorge has written me off. But I'm hoping we got some cool shots up there in the sunset. It's actually landed us on 17,000 steps for the day. So I'm going to wrap this first peak week vlog up with the proposed peak week plan that Dan has sent across to me. Now, as mentioned, this is always subject to change, but super important to have a rough structure in place based off the information that we've collected so far within this prep. So we've got another 2 days ahead of digging for more condition. We're going to do this via 15,000 steps per day, no cardio. And we drop food down to 2,100 calories over the next 2 days, which are both going to be training days. It'll be a leg day tomorrow and a push day on Tuesday at reduced volume and reduced intensity. And I'm hoping that will see us down to a new prep low and a new level of condition. Wednesday, we will then start the linear load. So we will start to bring food up on these days. We'll have a pull pump up session on Wednesday. We will then have a Thursday rest day where we titrate food up again. And then we will have our Friday upper pump session, which will be more of a control day before competing on the Saturday. So water is going to be titrated up alongside carbohydrates because we know we need more water in order to store carbohydrates as glycogen. So we're going to be on 6 litres of water a day during the kind of baseline days, and then I'll titrate all the way up to around about 8 litres on our biggest day of loading. Salt is kept completely consistent at 12 grams per salt per day. We will use vitamin C as a real mild diuretic, so we'll start to titrate vitamin C up as we get towards the back end of the week alongside titrating the water up. All injectables have been completely pulled at this point, so there's no local inflammation or just any systemic inflammation that comes from injectables. So that has been completely pulled alongside GH as well. So it's just going to be oral steroids in place for the remainder of the week. So steps will also come down after we have finished the dig. It will go down to purely digestion steps at that point, because we don't want to be blitzing through all of the food. The goal will be to shuttle the food to the right areas, store that, and create that fullness. So that is the proposed plan of action. I'm going to be taking you through the entire week anyway, and updating you as we go. We're going to be weighing ourselves every single evening as well as the morning and pairing that with visuals, because this is something that I really like to do with my clients as well, is that you want to pair the perfect look with a scale weight. And if you're able to do that, pair a morning look with the perfect scale weight, you can then on the final day before your show try and get yourself to bed at a specific weight that you know you're going to wake up at the perfect weight in the morning, if that makes sense. Because you should see a typical trend of how much weight you lose overnight. So you're then able to use that evening weight to go to bed at the perfect weight so you know how you're going to look in the morning and what weight you're going to wake up at in the morning. Creates predictability. And something that we will use to create that kind of final stage look. So super exciting stuff. We've got a really hard 2 days ahead now. The leg session tomorrow is going to be really, really challenging on much lower food, but we're going to get it done. We're going to hunt for that final bit of condition without driving up too much inflammation and fatigue. That's why we're just purely using steps and lower food, and a slight increase in lipolytics as well through up in the clem. And then it will be all about backing off, freshening up, and working our way towards that first show of the season. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. I have a very exciting 8 weeks that's about to unfold as we get into the most important part of the season. And I look forward to documenting it all for you guys. So I shall see you in the next one.